That's slave food. I don't do that, babe. I'm not a slave. I was never a slave.
If you was making sweet potatoes, do you put 1 cup of water or do you put 2 cups of water?
What kind of sweet potatoes?
Sweet potatoes, candy yams.
Candy yams? How much sweet potatoes am I making?
A pot.
Feed how many?
Cooking channel?
Do you
Feed
put
how many people?
1 cup of water, 2 cups of water?
How many people are we feeding? It doesn't matter?
Nope. 1 cup of water, 2 cups
Well,
of water.
I'm born and raised African. I'm not African American, so I don't know y'all culture. But if I were to make it, I don't know, shit. 2?
Sweet potatoes, you don't put no water in it.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to pass, but
Wait, so
Good.
so you want to
That's
steal?
good.
So y'all both gonna walk away? You gonna walk? Okay.
Yeah. What? That's slave food. I don't do that, babe. I'm not a slave. I was never a slave. I don't know how slaves cook. I don't know how slaves cook. I was never a slave. I know where my grandfather came from, my great-grandfather, and where all their ass came from. Your ass don't know. You
Few things that I need to say, right, about this young lady right here. The ignorance of this is stupefying as she's speaking with a Southern U.S. accent, right? And she's talking about slave food and stuff like that. And the only person that you can really feel sorry for is her, because she's obviously going through some things about her identity, what it is that she's been taught. I hope that she's been educated since this video went viral. The point is that this was the direction that she decided to go in for an insult, talking about, I know who my grandfather is, I know who my father is, I know who this, I know who that, I know. What they don't take into account is the flip side of the coin. Slavery was one side, colonialism was the other side. In slavery, people knew who the enemy was. In colonialism, they didn't even know who the enemy was. When the white people left the countries in shambles, there were many black people in those nations who didn't want the masters to leave. They wanted the colonial masters to stay and help them get their government together. Like, they didn't even really get it. If you don't believe me, go watch some of my videos from Nigeria. I interviewed a quote unquote freedom fighter who said himself in that video that the biggest problem with the colonial masters was that they left too soon without helping the Nigerians get themselves on their feet.
Our colonies would have done this better for us. They left us too early.
Who?
Our colony, the people who colonized us, left us too early.
The colonizers left too early.
Too early.
Didn't they stay too long?
We are not prepared to hold ourselves. They left us now. We couldn't hold ourselves. It means they left too early.
Without even really understanding that that's never what it was. They were siphoning money from your land to theirs, and they left you in shambles on purpose.
They would have stayed longer than expected to ensure that the children grew up to a certain level before leaving. Now they left us, now we are finding it difficult to harmonize.
I'm so confused because when you say colonizers, you're talking about the white people who had come in,
of course, yes,
stole human beings and enslaved them, and imposed their rule of law over the motherland.
They left us too early. When they left us, we were not ready to, we're not even matured. We're still immature to be together. Now, since then, we couldn't be together. From one issue to the other, one religion issue, one political issue to the other. It has gone to show that we are not matured to be together, to hold ourselves.
Okay. And she doesn't get that saying, I know who my father is, I know who my grandfather is, I know who my great-grandfather is, we never went through slavery. That's not really an insult to the people who were trafficked. That's an insult to the failure of the black male leadership in each one of those countries that allowed these foreigners to come onto their land and steal human beings who look like them. Because they'll make any type of excuse, and there'll be people who will come and say, oh, Tonya, you don't know what you're talking about. I was one of those people who felt that Africans did not sell Africans until I went to Africa and learned from their mouths themselves that they did. So it's not an insult to the people who were trafficked. It's not an insult to the people who were stolen. They met the ultimate betrayal because she's talking about, like, I don't know if she's Nigerian or whatnot, but she's talking about other Nigerians who were trafficked, who went through the transatlantic slave trade, because the highest percentage of DNA that exists, they said, among Black Americans is Nigerian DNA. That's not really an insult. It just shows your own ignorance. You know, it shows that you believed what it is that you were taught by people who really didn't mean you any good. This right here, that was really disappointing to hear, but you know, it is what it is. People feel however it is that they feel, and they're entitled to feel that way. So be a part of the live show with thousands of other viewers. Go to TonyaTKO.com/text and join the text notification squad and get a text whenever I go live. Support the show and yourself, and I'll see you on the next live broadcast.